Hey listeners, it's Paul Andriola here. Why not join our community at Small Cap Discoveries, where we offer our members direct access to some of the best microcap investment opportunities available. Our members are getting access to premium microcap financings, research reports, and direct access to management. Sign up today at www.smallcapdiscoveries.com.
Everyone, welcome back to the Small Cap Discoveries conference call. Today in our call, we have CEO Andrew White from Char Technologies to give us an update. Char Technologies trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol YES and on the OTC under CTRNF. The company is trading at 70 cents with roughly 70 million shares outstanding, or about a $49 million market cap. I'd now like to hand it over to Paul Andriola.
Great, thanks, Trevor. Great to have Andrew back. We've had you on, I think, 2 other times in the past, and it's always great to catch up and sort of get updated. I'm going to start off by disclosing first off that I'm a shareholder of Char Technologies, just so everybody's clear about that, and clearly a big fan. And Andrew's done a great job today to sort of bring us right to where all the work actually does happen. His car parked, looks like, in the parking lot of your facilities. So Andrew, thanks for joining us today. And why don't we start off by just reminding everybody what exactly Char Technologies does?
Yeah, absolutely. And Paul, thanks again for having me. And I apologize, it's pretty hot, so I've got the windows down, and the odd truck is going to roll by behind me, but hopefully it doesn't interfere with the sound too much. I'm far too much of an environmentalist to have the car running and the AC going. I just can't. I can't idle a car for an hour. So to give you an idea, so Char, our core technology is called high temperature pyrolysis. So we're basically taking material. So we have 3 buckets of material. One is compost, or what's called anaerobic digestate. So kind of the compost left over after a biogas plant. So think the green lanes and the ZBECs, they service biogas plants. The second bucket is biosolids, so the stuff left over from a wastewater treatment plant. And the third bucket is wood waste, woody residuals. We put it through our pyrolysis system, which we keep all the oxygen out, so it's oxygen tight. We heat it up to about 800 degrees Celsius, and that allows us to thermochemically convert all those weird feedstocks into 2 products. One is a biocarbon. So some of those on the call may remember we press release that we are delivering 1,000 tons to the steel industry using that biocarbon to replace coal in their blast furnace. And the other product that we always make, so we always make 2, always a biocarbon and always a gas. And that gas we refer to as syngas, and we can either use it directly to offset natural gas, things like heating, making electricity. We can further process it and strip off green hydrogen, or we can take it one level further and turn it into renewable natural gas. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of our core competencies and technologies. We also have a environmental permitting group, which allows us to obviously deliver projects a little more effectively, since all that permitting stuff is crucial for these projects, and we have it internally. And we work in industrial water treatment as well, and we have a few pretty cool projects in that space.
Perfect. Really big news this past week, but before we jump on that, maybe just explain to everybody who's listening why you're dressed the way you are, what's going on behind you, and sort of just the lay of the land at where you are right now.
Yeah, so a real Zoom background, not a fake one. That's why we brought in all the truck noise, just to give the authenticity. No, we're at our facility here in London, and this week we're doing trials with a number of potential clients. So each day we're running a different trial with a different potential client's feedstock. We've got a third-party analytical company on site, so they're measuring our output. So this gas that we're making, they're doing all the measuring and they're putting the report together, so we can be sure that it's third-party validated. So we're pretty excited about the output from this week, because it could very well lead to a few additional clients signing up. And that's the beauty of our demonstration facility here in London, is it's commercial scale. So we can run different materials through each day and kind of showcase how the technology works in the real world.
Mm-hmm. And you know, a client that might be testing with you guys right now, how long typically does it take before they come back? You know, how long does it take to analyze the data or whatever needs to be analyzed and then sort of potentially become a client?
Yeah, it's kind of on the analytical side. We turn the report around in about a month. It takes a few weeks for the lab data to be analyzed, and then the report's written, and they go directly to us and the client. But each of these clients, we've submitted, you know, initial budgetary proposals, gone down, you know, how does it work? Where does it fit on your site? So we're not kind of starting from scratch. This is more or less the validation step of this all works, then we're ready to go forward.
Good to go. Yeah, perfect. Okay, well, let's jump right at it. Big news this past week. You guys have what looks like you know, a pretty sizable. I mean, I think you called it a test facility or a test project, but a notable name there. What can you tell us about the news here last week?
Yeah, so this is a great project, and it's one of our high temperature pyrolysis units co-located with Hitachi Zosen and Nova's biogas plant down in San Luis Obispo in California. And what they're doing is they're taking kind of green bin organic waste in the California area, putting it through their biogas plant and making electricity. But all of these biogas plants always make a compost, which, you know, has limited value, sometimes goes to fields as a fertilizer. And so what we're doing is we're taking that digestate they have as a residual, putting it through our kiln system and making green hydrogen. So we'll be making a little over 1 million kilograms of green hydrogen a year, processing about 18,000 tons per year of their digestate as it comes off. So now we're adding additional value to this waste stream that's coming into the facility. We're squeezing more components out of it and making this green hydrogen stream. And of course, California is a great market for green hydrogen right now.
And the first question that comes to mind on that is the extra potential revenue. Is there a measurable amount sort of that the customer can sort of add by doing this process?
Yeah, what I find really exciting about it is there's kind of two adds. So, you know, this particular facility, they're making electricity, but most biogas plants are making renewable natural gas. Mm-hmm. And the renewable natural gas is priced based on what's called carbon intensity. So without getting like too into the details, by processing this compost, we've reduced their carbon intensity, which means they can get a higher price for their renewable natural gas. That's before we've done anything else. We've just helped them get more money for their gas. Then when we look at the green hydrogen, kind of the rough numbers, you know, like I said, we'll be producing about 1 million kilograms a year. Our expected pricing as kind of an early adopter in the space and a wholesaler will likely be just under $4 for US dollars a kilogram for that hydrogen. So it gives you sort of a sense of scale at least. And of course, the third part is this is kind of the beginnings of this distributed green hydrogen production that lots of people are talking about as being so important as the California hydrogen economy moves forward.
Mm-hmm. So I think you said 1 million kilograms of hydrogen here. Give us a sense, like how big is this facility? Is 1 million a lot? Is 1 million a little?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny question because it's such a new market. I mean, yeah. you look at an ammonia plant and they go through significantly more than 1 million kilograms a year, but they're, you know, a large industrial system actually running on natural gas and converting that into hydrogen. So from a vehicle fuel and some of the other markets, we're still, you know, we're not saturating the market by any stretch of the imagination. There's lots of demand, and in terms of footprint, because the plant is already making compost, they've got a building where they're composting. So we're taking actually a couple composting tunnels over to put our plant in. But in terms of square footage, we'll be on the order of 3,000 square feet. Another visual is we'll be basically 2 tube trailers of hydrogen a day. So we move the hydrogen offsite in tube trailers that are pulled by transport trucks. So we'll be probably, that's kind of 1 3/4, but we'll call it 2 a day for our purposes.
And when do you expect to sort of have this, I just imagine a report dropping on your desk saying, the bunch of green check marks, everything looks good. When do you expect to have sort of an idea if this is going to meet the criteria that he's looking for?
I mean, we're already contracting for the gas, so we're deep into that process right now, and we would expect to be producing green hydrogen late Q3 of 2022. So we're within a 12-month. There's a bit of variability. We obviously do in-house permitting, so we're very good at it, but there's always a bit of variability on the permit side, but we're pretty confident that is a very realistic timeline.
And obviously, apart from just the success of this project, what do you hope this showcases, or what do you think this could lead to down the road?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we're really showcasing two things in California. One is helping reduce this carbon intensity through the processing of the digestate. So we're solving a problem, increasing the price of their renewable natural gas. Mm-hmm. And second is demonstrating that we can do distributed green hydrogen in the state. Certainly California is a lead user of the green hydrogen. We don't see the markets quite as evolved in the rest of the states quite yet, but it's definitely catching up. And having that distributed model allows us to deliver to different clients. And the final piece of the puzzle is green hydrogen is almost exclusively priced based on an electrolyzer, so the price of electricity. We're not using electricity. We're using some to run our motors and fans and the like, but we're not using electricity to split a water molecule. We're extracting the hydrogen by reacting some of this waste material. And I think that'll really demonstrate a cost efficiency around the production of green hydrogen as well.
Listen, anybody who's listening to the broadcast right now, if you've got any questions you want me to ask Andrew, please use the chat function, and I'll do my best to ask them. Andrew, apart from this project, maybe anything else you've got on the go here that investors should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, we've always kind of been talking about these buckets of feedstocks and where we're taking them, and as the projects developed, what we were looking at was first a clean fire, this biocoal to the steel industry, which we did. Next was a anaerobic digestate to green hydrogen, and kind of the other two buckets are wood to renewable natural gas and a biosolids process. And so we have very advanced projects kind of pushing in those areas, and I would suspect we can talk a lot more about it in this calendar year as we've kind of continued to push on where our technology is really applicable and where the opportunities are. And I think the important point to remember is we still have a modular pyrolysis kiln. So it's still this skid-mounted system, this skid-mounted oven. And we're just changing kind of the temperatures, the times. We're basically changing the recipe book, but the equipment's the same. So as we continue to push these projects, we are getting kind of these economies of scale because we're building the same modular piece of equipment to go on each of these sites, which I think is also very exciting as we continue to grow and start to see more of these efficiencies come in.
This is a rapidly sort of evolving space. A lot of things going on, a lot of things going on politically. Is there anything sort of since the last time we spoke, is there anything that stood out trend-wise or politically, or anything that either hinders what you guys are doing or speeds up what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I would say it's on the speeding up. We'll talk in the Canadian context, but renewable natural gas is right now really being contracted by two primary provinces, Fortis, BC, and Pacific Northern Gas in British Columbia, and Énergir in Quebec. And both have moved forward on increasing their quantities of renewable natural gas they want to get into the grids. And it's on the order of, BC, I think it's somewhere around 15 pentajoules that they need to get to, and pentajoules, a million gigajoules, so 15 million gigajoules. And Canada produced sort of 1 point something pentajoules, and they keep increasing how much they want in, and so everyone's just trying to catch up. So the demand for renewable natural gas continues to grow, and I think is going to be huge. The other component is now we have gas utilities that are openly talking about taking hydrogen onto the grid. And there's different mechanisms on how that will get done, and whether, you know, there's kind of a credit trade versus putting the actual molecule in the pipeline. There's some things happening, but the important point is that there's kind of this now mandate of hydrogen in the natural gas grid, and the ability to do that is huge, because most of our clients on the compost digestate side are making renewable natural gas. So if we can turn their waste into hydrogen and put it in the grid where they're already injecting, I mean, this becomes a very easy business case to make.
I'm hearing a lot of the same sort of thing that you just mentioned here. Now, one question that just came in is there any concern that if pyrolysis technology catches on, that there's a feedstock supply limitation?
I know kind of where the question's coming from, because if you're watching anaerobic digestion off of food waste, there is a limited supply of that. And my short answer is not really, and there's two reasons for that. One, on the digestate into green hydrogen, we're always looking for clients that are already making renewable natural gas, so the biogas plants are there. And so there's 200 something sites, they're all processing food waste, and they all have this problem. So, you know, maybe 5 years down the road, we get some competitors who are in the space, but I think we're so far ahead and able to move so quickly that I'm less concerned about that. When we look at renewable natural gas, we don't use food waste for that. We use wood, we use residuals from sawmills, and the sheer abundance of not even just forestry material, because most of Canadian forests are underutilized, just the residuals from sawmills are in such abundance. I mean, to give you some general ideas, a project we're looking at developing would use 70,000 tons per year of biomass and make 400,000 gigajoules of RNG. And 70,000 tons per year is like one of the waste streams from one sawmill. And, you know, at the flip of a switch, we can have access to 500,000 tons of biomass within the vicinity of this plant if there was any feedstock shortages or supply changes. You know, the forestry market is always interesting. So there's just so much of it out there. And the other point I can say is, I think it was Deloitte, but it might have been WSP. So hopefully neither of them are on this call and get mad at me if I, you know, misquote it. But one of them put a study together for Energier that showed for them to meet their RNG pipeline requirements of over 15% of the grid being RNG, over 80% of the RNG would have to come from biomass, and there was no concern about the supply of biomass. That's why they said 82% has to come from biomass, because there is a pretty limited supply of food waste. So it's a pretty wide open market right now, which is why I get really excited about our positioning and kind of how quickly we're moving into this space.
Yeah. How about some of the challenges you're facing? Sort of the old question, what keeps you up at night right now? What's out there?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely about managing growth and making sure that we are appropriately ahead of the curve with our human resourcing, so that we have the in-house engineering capacity to deliver on these projects. So it's not an insurmountable challenge, and there's ways to make sure we're doing it. There's, you know, project management companies that you can hire in if we do fall behind that curve. We're doing everything we can to stay ahead of it. But managing that kind of rapid growth is something we think a lot about to make sure we're doing it appropriately and adequately. From a regulatory perspective, everything seems to be accelerating in the right direction. So I don't get too concerned about that. The only thing I get concerned about is if it moves so fast that we're staying on top of it, staying on top of especially some of the funding opportunities that are kind of flying out right now, and that we're able to take advantage of these opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is always a weird question. What should I have asked that I haven't asked right now? What other things do you think are important that investors are aware of with the business?
Yeah, it's always a great question, and you know, I think you did a pretty good job this time around, since it's mainly kind of an update call. You know, we've talked about the progress that we made since our last call. You know, we talked last time, I think, about our progression of announcements, and we've been sort of saying this is the progression, and we're delivering on that progression. So I think we'll continue to see that delivery of news as we go forward. I don't know. I think you did a pretty good job. There's nothing that's jumping up that I think you needed to ask. Although Evan maybe asked a question that you didn't ask that you should have.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Does the company have any plans or need to raise money?
Yeah, we're tentatively looking at going to market in the fall. You know, figuring out timelines and approach. But realistically, sometime in the fall, we will likely be going to raise additional money to deliver on what will be some really good opportunities for us.
Perfect. Well, listen, it's great. Always great to catch up. But is there any key message that you want investors to take away from our little discussion here? Oh, by the way, anybody who's listening for the first time, we've done 2 interviews in the past with Andrew in the full presentation. So if you really want to dig deeper, you can listen to one of our past interviews. But Andrew, any key takeaway you want to make sure everybody walks away with?
Yeah, I mean, I think at a high level, you know, the equipment that we're using, this high temperature pyrolysis system, has been deployed a number of times. So we're not kind of reinventing the technology part of the puzzle, which de-risks both the operation of it and sort of maintenance. And there's lots of spare parts and serviceability and all those really important things that once we build the plant, that it's operational and has high uptime. That combined with, I don't know anyone doing digestate to green hydrogen in this distributed manner, and with a great partner like Hitachi, who are developing biogas plants, we obviously have a really significant channel partner for future projects. And we also know that in the Canadian context, there's a huge demand for renewable natural gas, and the only way to get there is through biomass. And again, we just have a really awesome head start in the space, and we're doing everything we can to make sure we're taking advantage of that head start.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I want to congratulate you, because this is clearly a big step forward. Working with a company the scope and size of Hitachi, you know, it's a game changer potentially here. Listen, I want to thank you again for joining us today. If anybody's got any questions or really wants to get more information, either how do they contact you, or what's your website address?
Yeah, you can check out chartechnologies.com. My email address is my name, andrew.white@chartechnologies.com. So yeah, either way, check out the site, send me an email. I'm always got my I've got a BlackBerry, so I've always got my BlackBerry on me. So yeah, please reach out. I'm always happy to chat.
Perfect. That's great. So listen, we've been speaking with CEO Andrew White of Char Technologies. Andrew, thanks again for joining us. Look forward to catching up to you in the future.
Absolutely. Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Paul.